Hello everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about surprising things that you can recycle. So this is a sister video to a video I made a few weeks ago about 100 things that you cannot recycle in your curbside pickup. Instead, in this video, I wanted to focus on things that you actually can recycle. A few of them can be recycled in your curbside, which is pretty cool, but a majority of them actually still cannot be recycled in your curbside. But I wanted to provide you with some sources on where you can recycle these items instead. Like I said, some things you can put in your curbside, some things you have to take to a facility, and other things that you can mail. Granted, there is still some carbon emissions when you're mailing stuff to be recycled, but at least it can be recycled and it prevents it from ending up in the landfill. I will be sure to let you know which things can and cannot be recycled in the curbside, but just as a default, just go ahead and assume that none of this can go in the curbside. There will be a link down below for the blog post that goes along with this. In that blog post, you can find all of the websites for all of these recycling programs. But before we dive into this, there's two things that you need to know. One, it's always important to reduce your consumption of these things and other things if possible. Recycling should be a last case scenario, and always be sure to contact your local facilities to see what they will and will not take. Every facility, every region in the world is different when it comes to recycling, so be sure you're recycling properly. With that being said, if I talk a little bit too fast for you, of course you can read along via the blog post, or you can use a little gear icon right down here to change the speed of this video. So now let's just jump right in. The first category I'd like to talk about is plastic, and the first one is bleach bottles. If they are empty and rinsed out, they can be put in your curbside recycling. One thing overall, you can really just go to TerraCycle for a lot of these items. It's just a big search engine for different recycling. So that's pretty cool. If you have a bunch of glasses lying around, a bunch of shoes, you can just go into TerraCycle and be like, where can I recycle glasses? And they'll give you an option. So the next one is juice pouches, and those can be recycled via TerraCycle, as well as solo cups. Those are the red or other colored plastic cups that you'll see at parties and barbecues and things like that. They're a number 5 plastic and cannot be recycled in industrial facilities most of the time. Some facilities will take them, but if your facility doesn't, you can use TerraCycle. You can also recycle plastic zipper bags via Recycle Nation. Though some facilities do take thin plastics, some grocery stores have a thin plastic drop-off, so check your area before you do the mail option. Oh gosh, bioplastics is the next one. Don't even get me started on bioplastics. I want to make a future video on bioplastics. I think I'm going to add that to my Where Does Our Waste Go series, because bioplastics cannot be recycled. They must be composted. Most people don't know that. So in order to recycle bioplastics, you have to find a composter, and you can literally just go to findacomposter.com to find a facility in your area that will accept bioplastics. And a fun fact, if bioplastics do not get composted, they will be on this earth just as long as regular plastic, so it's really no better unless you're actually composting it. You can recycle any foam packaging like styrofoam. You have to go to epspackaging.org to do so. You can also recycle toothbrushes and razors at TerraCycle or preserveproducts.com. This one's an option for the UK for other flexible plastics like grocery bags, and that is thefirstmile.co.uk. Lastly, for plastic is K-cups and other little tiny coffee pods. Those are also not recyclable unless they are clean. Some facilities will take them if they're clean, but if your facility doesn't, there are quite a few options. I'm just going to read them off. There are a few options on TerraCycle. Even TerraCycle New Zealand has one, groundedcoffee.co, as well as Nespresso.com. Nespresso, the big coffee company, will actually take these pods back. The next category is paper. Envelopes with the plastic little window on them, same with cardboard boxes like you might get macaroni in with a little plastic window. If that plastic is removed, that cardboard or that paper actually can be recycled, but if you keep them together, it is considered a mixed material and will most likely just end up in the landfill. Greeting cards is the next one. I think this is a great option because I know greeting cards are still very common and a lot of them cannot be recycled because they are different types of paper, different types of inks, different types of stickers and glitter and tape. So hoard your greeting cards, hoard your birthday cards throughout the entire year, and then you can just send one package to stjudesranch.org. The next one is cigarette butts, and this one made me very excited because, I mean, not necessarily excited because smoking is bad. If you do smoke, collect all of your cigarette butts. It might be a little weird, but they can at least be recycled because cigarette butts are one of the most common litters found in the ocean. They are small and will be ingested by animals and are very harmful to the environment as well. So if you want to recycle your cigarette butts, you can send them to ctnow.com or TerraCycle. Of course, you can recycle cardboard, but why not give your cardboard a new life first and use them for shipping an item, use them for packing if you're moving, and if that doesn't work for you, donate them to someone who might need them. The next category I'd like to talk about is metal, and the first one is tinfoil. This can be recycled in your curbside. The only stipulation is that it has to be clean. So say you use tinfoil in the bottom of a baking dish, you take it out and there's a bunch of like rust from a brownie on there. Make sure that you clean it off. You can even give it a good scrub in the sink because it's pretty durable. And then once it's clean and dry, that's when you can put it in your curbside recycling. But if it's crusty, that is considered food waste, that is considered contamination, and that would risk your entire bin from being recycled. The next one is metal lids. So this is things like you might use your can opener on your can of chickpeas, the little circle part that actually can be recycled. I don't know if some people think that it can't be. Some places might not accept it because it might be considered dangerous actually. Just check your area, and if your area does accept it, make sure those are going into the recycling and not the trash. The next one in this category is metal tubes. So for example, I get my toothpaste now in metal. I don't get my toothpaste tubes in plastic because they are very hard to recycle. This is so much easier to be recycled, and this can actually be thrown into your curbside instead of being shipped to a bigger facility that will accept it. You can also recycle keys via keyforhope.org. And lastly, in this category is CDs and DVDs, and those can be sent to cdrecyclingcenter.org. The next category is e-waste, and this is a pretty big category, so stick with me. If you're interested more in about what happens to our e-waste, be sure to hit subscribe and stay tuned for a future video where I talk all about the impact of e-waste and where it actually gets sent after we are done using it. For the most part, if you send it to one of these specialty companies, they will actually handle it properly, just so you know. The first one is cell phones, and they can be sent to cellularrecycler.com. Next is batteries. Batteries are another one that people commonly think just go in the trash, which they really shouldn't because they contain harmful chemicals. So instead, send them to calltorecycle.org with the 2 an actual number. You can actually send Apple products back to Apple for them to harvest the materials and reuse themselves. I think that is pretty cool. It's great to see bigger companies taking initiatives like this and trying to have a little bit more responsibility for the products that they're creating. So if bigger companies have stuff like that, I really encourage you to participate in those sorts of programs to let them know that you as a consumer appreciate what they're doing, at least in that case. String lights are another common one I see a lot on the curb after Christmas. Either they're burnt out or people are just getting rid of them because they want to be wasteful. But you can send Christmas lights and other string lights to holidayleds.com. Hearing aids, I found this one really interesting. I never would have thought of that, probably because I don't have hearing aids. But if you do use hearing aids and you need to recycle some old ones, you can send them to starkeyhearingfoundation.org. If you have compact fluorescent light bulbs and you don't want those going into the landfill because that has the potential to be harmful as well, you can send those to the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA.gov. You can send miscellaneous e-waste to mic or mike.com. I don't really know how it's pronounced, but again, all the websites will be linked in the blog post. This one's an interesting one. I forgot this was on this list, but you can actually recycle sex toys. You can send those to nerve.com. You can also recycle miscellaneous appliances. Goodwill actually has an appliance recycling program, or you can send them to recycle-steel.org. And lastly in this category is ink and toner cartridges. I know this is another really popular one that people just throw into the trash, but these should be recycled. And you can do that via recycleplace.org. And then Staples and Best Buy also have ink cartridge take-back programs in which they will recycle them too. Moving on to shoes, clothes, and accessories. First up is running shoes. Nike actually has a running shoe recycling program, or you can send them to oneworldrunning.com. Well, you can't actually send them to oneworldrunning.com. That is rather a shoe recycling locator. You can send bras to brawrecycling.com. I like those websites that are really easy and obvious. Glasses can be sent to new-eyes.org. If you have a backpack that is a little too beat up to be donated, you can send it to bex.aba.org. I don't know if that's supposed to be like Bex, ABA. So No Nonsense is actually a tights and stocking brand. They will actually take old tights and stockings and recycle them into new products. Clothing in general can be sent to dressforsuccess.org. Here it will be recycled or even donated if it's still in pretty good shape. Though, if your clothing is in good shape, I really just encourage you to donate it locally, sell it even if you want to. Recycling for clothing really should be the last resort because clothing recycling is not always reliable. So if you're interested in that, definitely hit subscribe. This one is a UK option only, it seems, but if you have rubber boots like rain boots, you can send those to recyclebox.co.uk. This one was mentioned earlier, this website, and that is for clothing hangers. You can send it to thefirstmile.co.uk. And lastly is denim. Denim is another pretty commonly recycled clothing material actually, and you can send those to bluejeansgogreen.org. Finally, the last category we have today is miscellaneous. The first one is crayons, and those can be sent to crazycrayons.com. If you still have VHS and cassettes lying around, you can actually recycle them instead of just throwing them away. Those can be sent to greendisc.com. Something else is inhalers and medications. So they can sometimes be recycled, at least the containers and the inhalers themselves, but if not, the pharmacists can at least dispose of them properly instead of them ending up in our waterways and and or ground systems. So be sure to check out your local pharmacy to see if they are participating in these programs. Corks that come from your wine actually can be recycled, though a lot of them are actually natural and can be composted if you have a compost. Some are made out of plastics, I think, so be sure to check to make sure that your cork is actually natural before you compost it. So your corks can actually be sent to a few places. The first one is actually WholeFoodsMarket.com. Whole Foods apparently has a cork take-back program. You can also send them to recork.org or yoursoul.com. There are quite a few places to send your cosmetics as well. The first one is LushUSA.com. The second is MAC Cosmetics, and then the third is Origins.com. I already mentioned the prescription medication that you can take to your local pharmacy. This one's a pretty long URL. I'm not going to say it, but there's a place that you can send your prescription drugs as well if you'd rather do that. If you have an old mattress, something that's a little too old to be donated, you can send it to buyebuymattress.com. Toilets and other porcelain actually cannot be recycled in your curbside, even if it is smaller bits of porcelain, so instead send it to csu.org. Another one that's got quite a few options is artificial Christmas trees. These can be sent to howardcountymd.gov or fountaincolorado.org. The next one is diapers, and I assume it's like unused diapers, not used. That sounds disgusting. So if you do have unused diapers, first try to find someone who might need them, but if you can't find anyone, you can send them instead to be recycled to fastcoexist.com. So I already mentioned cosmetics earlier, the actual cosmetics themselves, but you can also send empty makeup containers. You can send them to all the places listed above, but there are a few others too. You can also send them to avita.com and the epa.gov. I found this next one really interesting, and that is chewing gum. So I've always known that chewing gum is made of part rubber, so it can't actually be composted and decomposed. Gum isn't quite natural enough, at least commercial chewing gum. So please don't throw it out the window when you're in the car. I used to do that as a kid because I thought it was okay, but now I know it's not. Anyway, so if you want to hoard your chewing gum to be recycled, you can instead send it to gumdropltd.com. You can also recycle your entire bicycle. Again, this is something that really should be donated if it's still in good condition, but if it's not, there are a couple places that you can send it. The first one is bikecoop.ca or torontobicyclerecycling.wordpress.com. You can also recycle carpeting and rugs at earth911.com. This makes me love Crocs even more. Crocs actually has a take-back program where they will recycle their product into new product. Motor oil can also be sent to earth911.com. Sounds dangerous. You can also recycle yoga mats and shingles. I don't have the websites listed on here. I assume they cannot be put out into your curbside. Coffee grounds is another one that you can send to thefirstmile.co.uk. I know there are a lot of other places that recycle coffee grounds, so definitely look into that if you're interested in finding something else. But you can also compost coffee grounds, put them on your plants as fertilizer. There's a lot of ways that you can personally recycle coffee grounds instead. Cooking oil is another one that can be sent to thefirstmile.co.uk, as well as office supplies like pins and staplers. House paint can be sent to rescene.com. And then the last one is mascara wands that can be sent to appalachianwild.org. I don't know if this company does it specifically, but I've heard this with a lot of wildlife companies asking for mascara wands in order to clean baby creatures. So if you want to actually turn your product into something that can help the wildlife, definitely look into something like that. Those are the 60 items that I have that you actually can recycle. You just have to put in a little bit more effort than you would for your curbside. But one last thing I wanted to touch on, please look for an alternative route before recycling. If your items aren't really that beat up, see if you can donate it, sell it, gift it to someone even. Just give it to someone for free before you go the recycling route. I mean, obviously you're not going to gift someone like old cooking oil and old inhalers, obviously, but clothing and shoes and bicycles and mattresses, if they're really not that old, not that beat up and gross, try to donate it first. Recycling should always be the last resort, no matter what it is, no matter how easy or difficult it is to recycle. It should always be the last resort. Of course, the landfill is the real last resort. It's pretty much equal. I hope that you learned something from this video. I hope that you found this interesting. If you missed the first video in this mini series about surprising things you can recycle and things that you can't recycle, it'll be linked up here as well as down below with 100 things that you actually cannot put in your curbside recycling. Spoiler alert, a lot of them were just these things that we talked about today, but there are definitely a lot of others on that list as well. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend some time with me, learn more about recycling. I hope that you love recycling as much as I do. If you are subscribed to this channel, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your support. And if you are new here, you should definitely hit subscribe to stay tuned for more low-waste environmentalism content. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, remember that these small changes you make have a big impact in the long run. Bye, guys. To let them know that future videos, so if you're stay tuned, and you can send those to bluejeansgogreen.com. They're all org, quit saying com. So if you want to hoard your gooing, and until next time, remember, I always mess that up.